the call, rise above the shadows tall. Voices strong and hearts so wide.
Welcome to True Story Africa, a channel dedicated to giving you pure entertainment in form of true life African stories, full of drama, suspense, intrigue, and life lessons. So why should you spend the next 18 minutes watching this video? The real reason? Today's story is a true story that happened just recently in Enugu State, Nigeria. It's a sad story that highlights the dangers of superstitions and primitive beliefs. So sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn while you journey with us as we uncover the hidden truths and lessons in this true life story. Please note the main highlight of this particular story is true. However, we spiced it up with our own unique storyline in order to make it more engaging and interesting. If you see Cristiano Ronaldo juggling a football in the next 2 seconds, then that's a sign you should subscribe to our channel if you are not already subscribed. Also, put on all notifications so you don't miss future epic true life African stories. Cheers, guys. Now back to our story. In the bustling streets of Enugu State, Nigeria, lived a boy named Chikwado Heze. Chikwado was born to Mr. Heze and Mrs. Ineka, a humble couple who lived in the poor and noisy part of the neighborhood. This particular neighborhood was famous for its football-loving residents. Every weekend, whenever the foreign club teams like Liverpool and Arsenal were playing a match, fans of these football teams would move in their hundreds to one of the numerous football viewing centers in the village. And they would gladly pay a small token amount just to sit down and watch their favorite teams play football. Chikwado was an ardent football lover. He was the last born of the family, with two older brothers, Emeka and Chinedu, and an older sister, Amaka. From a young age, it was clear that Chikwado was different. His love for football set him apart from the rest. Chikwado played football almost every day with other kids in his neighborhood. The streets were often filled with children playing football, and Chikwado was always in the thick of it. He could run faster than most boys his age, and even at 6 years old, his ball control was impressive. It didn't take long for Mr. Heze, his father, to notice his son's unique talent. Unlike some parents who believed that education was the only key to success, his father encouraged him to follow his passion. He was an enlightened man who understood that sports could also lead to a successful future. When Chikwado turned 6, his father bought him his first football, a shiny black and white leather ball. That gift sparked a fire in him that could not be extinguished. He spent every waking moment practicing dribbling and shooting. His mother, Mrs. Ineka, would often call him into the house for dinner, but he was always too busy playing to answer immediately. Chikwado, come inside now, she would shout, hands on her hips. Just 10 minutes more, mama, he would reply, his eyes focused on the ball. At school, his talent became even more apparent. His school football team, however, was the worst in the city. They never made it past the group stages of any competition. Every year, they were laughed off the field, and their reputation as losers stuck with them. But that didn't bother him. He loved the game and played every chance he got. Coach Bako, the coach of the school team, was actually a very good coach. He had won the state competition in the previous school he coached. He quickly saw the problem associated with the lack of consistency in the school football team. The team lacked a lethal striker, a dynamic attacking midfielder, and a creative winger, among other key positions. But these were the 3 key positions Coach Bako identified in the team. One day, during a casual game at school, his awesome football skills caught the attention of the school's football coach. Coach Bako, an average-built, athletic man who had a sharp eye for talent, had been secretly watching Chikwado from a distance, and what he saw impressed him. Chikwado dribbled past his opponents as if they were not even there. He could retain the ball impressively without losing possession. His passes were precise, his shots on target, and his footwork was so good that some students began whispering his name alongside football legends like Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. Coach Bako knew he had discovered a hidden gem. At the time, only senior students were allowed to join the school football team, and Chikwado, along with his best friend JJ, were juniors. JJ was also a skilled player, and the two boys were inseparable on the field. Chikwado played as a striker, a lethal number 9, while his friend JJ was an attacking midfielder, a very creative and dynamic midfielder that played in the number 10 role. Their combination on the field was fire. But despite their combined talent, they weren't eligible to play for the school team yet. This was because they were still juniors, and according to the school team rules, only seniors were allowed to join and play for the school team. However, the school football team was so bad that even the senior players dreaded competitions. They once lost a game 7-0, a scoreline so embarrassing that it haunted them every time they stepped onto the pitch. One afternoon, Chikwado and JJ were playing a 5-a-side match in the school field with a couple of their other friends. Unknown to them, Coach Bako was watching from a distance. This time he had his camera phone ready to record Chikwado's playing skills for reference. After about 30 minutes or so of observing the boys play, he knew he had to act. The next day, Coach Bako summoned Chikwado and JJ to the school's training hall. When they arrived, Coach Bako stood in front of the entire school football team and made an announcement that shook the senior players. "I've decided to add 2 new players to the team," he said firmly, Chikwado and JJ. The seniors exchanged looks of disbelief. How could the coach allow juniors to join the team? There were senior players waiting for their chance to shine, and now 2 juniors were being brought in. One of the senior strikers, who had never liked Chikwado, was particularly furious. He had been the team's main striker, and now he feared Chikwado would take his spot. He was a bully on and off the field, and he immediately started plotting ways to sabotage him. Despite the resistance from some of the seniors, Coach Bako stood his ground. He explained that the team had become a laughingstock and that drastic changes were necessary. If they wanted to compete, they needed talent, and Chikwado and JJ had exactly that. Reluctantly, the seniors accepted the decision. One by one, they shook hands with Chikwado and JJ, though some did so with gritted teeth. Over the next few months, Chikwado, JJ, and their friend Chris, who had recently transferred to their school, were fully integrated into the team. Chris was a creative winger who could play in any wing, left or right. He was 2-footed, and so he was a very creative winger. The dynamic between the 3 friends transformed the team's fortunes. Chikwado, the lethal striker, JJ, the dynamic midfielder, and Chris, the creative winger, their triple threat combination was a scare to any team in the state. They began winning matches, and soon they were no longer the underdogs. Chikwado, in particular, was crucial to their success. He scored goal after goal, dazzling spectators and earning the respect of his teammates. In just 1 year, they won their first local competition. The following year, they clinched the regional title, and by the 3rd year, they were state champions. Chikwado was hailed as a local hero, his name whispered with admiration in football circles across Enugu. He had become a school legend, and Coach Bako was determined to take his career to the next level. After Chikwado graduated from secondary school, he knew what he wanted to use his football skills for. And so he approached his father with a little bit of uneasiness to tell him he wasn't interested in going to the university. Instead, he wanted to focus fully on becoming a professional footballer. To his surprise, his father agreed. His father, Mr. Haze, also a lover of football himself, having played football locally for his state during his days. He had belief in his son Chikwado and knew that supporting him could enable him become a successful professional footballer. And we all know what professional footballers earn these days, don't we? He enrolled his son into the local Enugu State Football Academy, the Enugu Ranger Feeders team, and he began training hard to become a professional footballer. He would be the first person to get to the center and the last to leave. His dedication and drive for success was unmatched. He was really focused and hardworking, and people knew he was destined to become a legend in the beautiful game of football. Chikwado was popular in the center. He was known for his sleek skills and football prowess. He was given the nickname Chizzy, and he liked it. And so Chizzy began training hard to become a professional footballer. He would be the first person to get to the center and the last to leave. His dedication and drive for success was unmatched, and he was really focused and hardworking. People knew he was destined to become a legend in the beautiful game of football. After Chizzy and his friends graduated from secondary school, Coach Bako still kept in contact with them, particularly Chikwado. He wanted him to advance his football career. And so Coach Bako took matters into his own hands. He traveled all the way to Chikwado's village in Enugu State to meet with Mr. Heze, Chikwado's father. As they sat down over a bottle of palm wine, the coach laid out his plans for Chikwado's future. Chikwado has the potential to become a professional footballer, Coach Bako said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. I have connections with clubs in Europe. With his talent, he could be playing in the English Premier League within a few years. Mr. Heze listened intently, nodding in agreement. He had always believed in his son's talent, and now it seemed that all the hard work was paying off. After some discussion, they agreed that Coach Bako would become Chikwado's manager. The coach wasted no time in sending video clips of Chikwado's performances to football scouts in Europe. And within the space of a year, the breakthrough came. A football club in the United Kingdom offered Chikwado a full 5-year contract with an attractive salary. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. Chikwado was ecstatic. His dreams were about to come true. With the help of Coach Bako, all the necessary documents were secured, and soon Chikwado had his visa in hand. All that was left was for him to board the plane and begin his journey to the UK. But fate had other plans. Just days before Chikwado was set to travel to the UK, his father called him to the village. Chikwado was confused. Why was his father asking him to come home when he was about to embark on the biggest journey of his life? When Chikwado arrived in the village, his father took him aside and explained the reason for the visit. My son, before you go to the UK, I want you to undergo a fortification ritual, his father said in a serious tone. Fortification, Chikwado repeated, confused. What do you mean, Papa? There's a powerful native doctor in our village, his father explained. He can protect you from any evil force that may try to stop your success. We've seen too many talented young men lose their way abroad. This fortification will ensure that no harm comes to you. Chikwado was skeptical. He had never been one to believe in such things, but his father was adamant. Trust me, my son, his father insisted. This is for your own good. We will go to the native doctor tomorrow. Reluctantly, Chikwado agreed. He didn't want to disappoint his father, and deep down, he hoped the ritual would bring him good fortune in his new career. The next day, Chikwado and his father made their way to the home of the native doctor, an old man known as Enyuwa Odugu. His shrine was located deep in the forest, surrounded by tall trees and eerie silence. As they entered the compound, Chikwado felt a chill run down his spine. The native doctor welcomed them with a toothless grin and led them into his dimly lit shrine. The walls were lined with strange carvings, and the air was thick with the smell of burning herbs. Welcome, Chikwado, the native doctor said in a raspy voice. I've heard much about you. Chikwado nodded, unsure of what to say. The fortification ritual I will perform is very powerful, the native doctor continued. But it requires great courage. You will need to be buried in a coffin for 1.5 hours. After that, you will emerge stronger, protected from any evil that may come your way. Chikwado's heart raced. Buried in a coffin? It sounded like something out of a nightmare. He glanced at his father, hoping he would say something, but his father simply nodded in approval. Do not worry, my son, his father said. It is only for a short time. You will be fine. Against his better judgment, Chikwado agreed to go through with the ritual. The native doctor and his assistants brought out a wooden coffin and instructed Chikwado to lie inside. His hands trembled as he climbed in, and the moment the lid was shut, darkness engulfed him. The coffin was then lowered into a shallow dug grave. All this while, the native doctor was busy preparing a special soap for Chikwado to bath with once he emerged from the coffin, after the time stipulated for the ritual might have elapsed. For the first few minutes, Chikwado tried to calm his breathing. He reminded himself that it was only for an hour and a half. But as time passed, the air inside the coffin grew thin, and panic began to set in. He pounded on the lid, gasping for breath, but no one heard him. An hour and a half later, the native doctor and his father returned to dig up the coffin. But when they opened it, the sight that greeted them was nothing short of horrifying. Chikwado lay still inside the coffin, his face pale and his body cold. He was dead. His father screamed in disbelief, shaking his son's lifeless body. The native doctor, too, was at a loss for words. They had not expected this. The ritual was supposed to fortify him, not kill him. Within hours, the news spread through the village, and soon the police arrived. Both Chikwado's father and the native doctor were arrested and taken to the police station, where they are currently awaiting investigation. The village was in shock. How could a promising young footballer's life be cut short in such a senseless way? Chikwado's death left a lasting impact on everyone who knew him. His friends JJ and Chris were devastated. Coach Buckle was heartbroken, knowing that Chikwado had been so close to achieving his dreams. The football club in the UK that had offered him a contract sent their condolences, but nothing could bring Chikwado back. The tragic story of Chikwado Heze serves as a cautionary tale. It highlights the dangers of superstition and the consequences of making life-altering decisions without proper knowledge or understanding. The life lessons to be learned from Chikwado's unfortunate true story are as follows. 1. Follow your dreams but be wise. Chikwado had the chance to achieve his dreams, but he allowed himself to be swayed by superstition. It's important to be cautious and make decisions based on reason, not fear or old beliefs. 2. Parents should support, not hinder. Mr. Heze, though well-meaning, let his fear of the unknown push his son into a dangerous situation. Parents should support their children's dreams without letting their own fears and beliefs get in the way. 3. Value life over tradition. Traditions can be important, but when they endanger lives, they should be questioned. In Chikwado's case, a dangerous ritual cost him his life. It's crucial to prioritize safety and well-being over outdated customs. Chikwado didn't want to disappoint his father, but in the end, that decision cost him everything. It's important to think carefully before making choices that could change the course of our lives forever. Chikwado's story is a heartbreaking reminder that life is fragile and that we must always be vigilant in protecting it. Dreams can come true, but only if we stay alive to pursue them. Thanks so much for watching. Smash the like button, share, and subscribe so you don't miss our future videos. Till I bring to you another epic and exhilarating true life story. This is True Story Africa.
True story, Africa, hear the call. Rise above the shadows tall. Voices strong and hearts so wide. Together we'll take this ride.